Okay, folks, this is Rick Barron off of the Lincoln Vlogs and Too Predictable website. Quickly approaching January 2018. And I wanted to give you a numerology report for the first month and the new year because they're, as you know, inextricably intertwined. This is regarding the Universal Numerology Report for January 2018. I'll discuss a little bit later on the personal aspects of the month and the year and how that relates to you as an individual. But otherwise, this report is for everyone, universally speaking. Okay? We can all agree that January is the first month of the year, a 1 month. That's the number that we assign to it. Typically, it is the beginning. Then, of course, February the 2nd, March the 3rd, and so on. Everything cycles in nines. So, as I said, February the 2nd month, this is just the natural order of life. The same with the days, hours, years. Okay? While now in 2018, that combines the 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 8 combines and reduces to a 2. It's the second year in a 9-year cycle. Standing alone, 2018 is also an 11-year. So again, 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 8 equals 11. And since the 11 is a master number, and we're not adding it to anything else, the 11 stands alone. This is a highly significant number for the world at large, okay, that we have an 11 overriding this year. Or you can go back in history and look at each year and see which number corresponds to that year. Last year, or 2017 now, we're still in 2017 as I'm recording this. It was a 1 year. 2016, of course, a 9-year, the end of 9-year cycle. Okay, so as I said, 2017 was a 1 year, 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 7. So 1 universal year, now followed by the second year in this 9-year cycle. The 11's a master number and stands alone rather than reducing it to a 2, which is 1 plus 1. The 2 master numbers the numerology typically deals with are the 11 and the 22. The 11 is the emotional or inspirational figure, and the 22 relates more to material things. It's the material master and all things on that plane of existence. So this year we're going to be dealing with emotional issues, inspirational issues, uplifting issues. Okay, 2018 may not be easy for some people to deal with because of this high vibrational forces that are emanating from the 11. One must be cautious and aware of these influences because everyone can have a different reaction to this frequency. Some people that are more compatible to the numbers 2, the even numbers 4, 6, 8. Okay, this they may relate to this year more so than others, even though of course the 11 is an odd number. One must be cautious and aware of these influences because everyone, as I said, can have a different reaction to the frequency. One must look to their own personal construct to apply the effects. How does this relate to me? Well, right now we're just discussing the universal and the effects on everyone that's going to be overriding just how this year plays out. Okay, essentially what that means is that mankind will be inspired by the overall appeal of this vibration. We've already seen the emotions that are expressed over the passage of the new tax legislation by the Republican Congress and the president. I mean, they were giddy. Let's call it what it is. They should be. It took them a year to get their act together to put this thing through. It was long overdue. I mean, we're talking about decades, almost a half a century overdue. Tax relief. Of course, Ronald Reagan was the previous big tax cutter. And of course, anybody remembers the booming 80s as a result. So we do anticipate having the same thing here. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? The law has been signed into the books, and we will move forward, but of course it only takes effect during the year of 2018. We've gained nothing from it in 2017 at this point. This was a promise that was made by both entities during the election of 2016. And 2016, now that we're on the subject, was a 9-year, 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 6, which ended. It was that 9 year is the end of the cycle, and it ended many things for many people. But on the other side of the coin, it was new. It was a new beginning for others. Of course, it was a new beginning for the Trump administration. Moving into office on a one universal year was a big deal. That's a huge start to be in sync with the natural order and natural tendencies. So he's in his stride, if you will, the president, and of course so is Congress. Going back a bit in time, there was so much resistance to the end of the reign of Obama and the Democrats that it actually carried over into the new year. It's like a person with depression hearing more bad news piled on top of their condition. If you had noticed, it took Hillary the entire year to deal with her depression. Of course, one could argue that she is a game girl. She blows with the wind. She's in the game no matter what. Whether she's a presidential candidate, a loser, first lady, it doesn't matter. She's in the game. So let's get that clear from the beginning. This lady is in it for herself, okay? She quickly penned her book, which, probably she had been writing it for years. She was just waiting for the right moment, the downturn where she could, have some light shed on her. And subsequently went out on the road blaming everyone from Mickey Mouse to Santa Claus, for her demise. Do not be fooled by this apparent demeanor. This woman is crafty as hell. And I should know, she's a Scorpio, okay? And she's born on an 8-day, a power day. Nothing but money. She knows exactly what she's doing. For all you fools out there, who buy into her rhetoric, she has done nothing for this country since she's been in politics. Nothing, really. I challenge anybody, to go back in the record and, just tell me what she has done to move forward something tangible for this planet. Okay, I'm not going to spend the time reviewing her ineptness as well as her competence to survive this long in politics and accomplish absolutely nothing. Zero, nada. Okay? She reminds me of Paris Hilton. No one seems to know what she does either, but somehow she manages to remain in the news, make money, look like money, and so I haven't been able to figure them out yet, but I digress. Let's see how these cycles work. We ended a 9-year cycle, as I said, in 2016. We began a new 9-year cycle in 2017. This was the time to consider one's options, where to go from here, to make plans, discuss choices, evaluate the landscape, before you make a decision. The Dems, of course, did none of that. They spent the entire 12 months lamenting what was and simultaneously tearing at the fabric of the Trump victory. Bad idea. This is karmic. They chose the low road, not the high road, and they got paid to do nothing, except be negative. It's just a game to them. There's no gain in this for them. It's a game. Now we finished the 1 year, about to. Okay, we're less than a few days away. We're moving into the second year of the program. This is like climbing a ladder, if you will. Typically, the 2 year is a time to pause and reflect on one's ideas, one's goals and plans. This is also not necessarily a forward year. It's not an aggressive year, the 2. The 2 is a recessive number. On the other hand, the 11 is a hugely inspirational number. This is the time to think big. Nobody said anything about acting on it or action. This is thinking big, okay? And the things that you do them to inspire people. Even if it's rhetoric, you got to have a plan. What's your plan? What are you going to do? What are you going to accomplish over these next 7 years? That's how you want to look at this. What is the plan? How can we push the limits of advancement when we have the wind behind us? Okay, yes, advance where we can always, but more along the lines of refinement. As the example, the tax plan is a huge piece of legislation, and one must dissect it and understand the implications that apply so that by year's end, you can play it like a fiddle, okay? Take every advantage of every tax write-off and every benefit that was given to you. Hell, go out and form a corporation if you want to. See if that'll help. Now, the 11 is also a spiritual number, spiritual or mental number, meaning that one must optimize thought during this cycle because this is where the jet stream is most effective, okay? Up at the higher levels in our minds and how we can best influence others with our ideas. We all know about the influence of ideas. We just had Christmas, okay? And I was just commenting in another one of my articles about how the Romans and the Jews got together to kill Christ. Okay, well, look at the idea that generated. Okay, nothing else, just an idea. Okay, so we must remain inspired. So certainly businesses will be inspired to expand because of this newfound energy. Who can blame them? Cash flows will increase across the board, not for purposes of greed now, mind you, but for the benefit of everyone involved. I heard a number of these corporations announcing raises, pay raises, bonuses. This is inspirational stuff, big stuff. You can imagine working for those companies telling you you're going to get a check, by the end of the year for $1,000, as I think it was AT&T. Nice. I could use $1,000 right now. Do not allow yourself to be drawn down to the lower plane of life, which is the 2. Okay, it's down on the lower plane of man, of life, of existence, and become greedy. The negative side of the 2 is greed and hoarding, penny pinching, and you don't want to go down there. Okay, you want to stay on the high road. Give some back to those with less, whatever that may be. Be inspired this year. This is where you can take inspiration to the highest level, okay? Remember, this is not a material value, only inspirational. Think big, think good thoughts, be positive, and you will have the wind at your sails. There will be days when the emotional roller coaster will turn down at some point during the year, okay? You can't ride this thing on high for 365 days. That's not how it works. So one must maintain a reasonable balance, knowing that the good feelings will return soon should you be on the downslope. Okay? So we're going to have those months where it's not going to be great. And then perhaps the following month or following week, it'll turn around. So if you're feeling exuberant, that's great. But keep in mind that one can only maintain that level of emotion for so long. Do not turn it into a reckoning because you push the limits too far. The higher they climb and the harder they fall. People will feel this energy. Okay, make no mistake. If you see a friend feeling giddy about something, just gently remind them to reel it in for a bit because when the adjustment hits, it may be painful. Perhaps depression, suicides. I just finished my book, Famous Dead People, replete with suicides, depression, the horrors of man. That's why I had to write the book from the numerological perspective, because let me tell you, there's lots of people out there that are a moment away from death and the depths of despair. So here's how the 11 year plays out. Okay, we combine the 11 or the 2 to each month, starting with January, the 1 month. Okay, so January, a 1 month, plus 2, the year that it is, comes out to a 3. And the 3, of course, is, if you follow my work, is the number of the artist. And as you know, artists can be very emotional, very creative, very inspirational, but they can also be depressive, resorting to drugs and alcohol, to overcome this this roller coaster of emotions. But that's why I'm giving these warnings, because you always want to balance the good with the bad. It's not all good all the time. We know that. Wouldn't be reality if it was. Certainly, maybe we wouldn't even be here on Earth if it was all good. For everyone, or universally speaking, January will be a good month, as it typically is. Okay, it's the first month of the year. That's great news. It's a 1 month, very powerful number. It's a starting point. It's the beginning of things, whatever that may be. Beginning of a job, relationships, resolutions. It will start off as a 3 month, though, because of the New Year number. So keep that in mind. January is always the 1 month. It's like February or March is always the 3rd month. Okay, but this year we're starting at a 3 month, universally speaking, which means February, universally speaking, is going to be a 4 month. March is going to be a 5 month. March is going to be a good month. April, the 6th month, will be a month of adjustments. So you see how this rolls as we go. Keep that in mind. Okay, well, one combines 2 numbers. One's able to obtain a better sense of the reality that the, kind of the flavor that the numbers are going to provide for us. People will feel good about their condition, but this will last for only about 30 days. Then it will be February, the 2nd month of the year, but in combined numbers, it will be a 4 universal month. And I'll get into that in my report for next month. It typically means work, routine. Again, a time of building and not partying, not necessarily partying. Winter can be harsh. February is always a tough month in the winter. Of course, brings a certain amount of depression into the mix. But we will get into that towards February. Okay, January would be good for everyone, but on the lower plane of life, since it's only a 3 month, on a scale of 1 through 9, 9 being the highest vibration, these will be small celebrations. Okay, nothing off the charts, but we have a way to go. Looming, of course, on the universal scale is DACA, immigration, government funding, or continuing resolutions. All of these things are in play this year. Never pleasant subjects. But because the 11 energy will be intense, so will the resistance. Protesters will be inspired to take to the streets, this year. More killings, more bizarre behavior, because people will be negatively inspired as well. Always 2 sides to a coin. Not everyone's happy about the tax cuts. Bernie Sanders is already reeling over it. His blood pressure is already at a breaking point. His head's ready to explode. So one may not wish to get too close to him. Now will allow us to recap here because, again, the first month is January. It's a 1 month, the beginning. It's going to last about 30 days. 2018 is a 2 year, 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 8, but also is an 11 or a highly inspirational year. Can't forget that. Energy levels will be extremely high for good or ill this year. Combined month and year will have a 3 month of January. This will continue to the overall expression that people will feel. Opinions, criticisms, feelings will come from everywhere and out of nowhere. The 3 remains on the lower earthly plane of existence, and so do not expend too much other than some possible ugliness and some drama thrown in. I don't like to be negative, but we must understand there are always positive and negative aspects to a number. Just do not be drawn into the negative. Keep to the higher side of the path Okay? Always look to your higher calling. Now, you can go to my website, toopredictable.com, and I'll provide there some more information about um, your personal year and how you can figure that out. Typically, it's, well, I'll get into it. I'll show you the formula because you want to calculate the year that you're having, and then you can calculate the month, the personal month that you're having on a scale of 1 to 9, and how that all plays into your life and how all this is going to affect you this year. So let's make it a great year, regardless of what may be to come. But we're going to stay on the high side no matter what. Thank you, and Happy New Year.